All right, we are live. Welcome to Bear Sheath Farm with your host Levi Kahn. Care of this. All right, maybe we don't get any ricochet. Um, but that being said, okay. Uh, anyway, I hope everybody's staying cool enough out there, staying hydrated. Um, be careful with that kind of stuff with the heat. And welcome and shalom to Carolyn Gannon. Glad you made it. And like I said, I don't want to have to hear about any of my subscribers going into heat stroke mode. So let's get this started, shall we? Genesis chapter 36. Now these are the generations of Esau, who was Edom. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Ada the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, and Aholibama, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, the Hivite, and Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth, and Ada bare to Esau Eliphaz, and Bashemath bare Reuel, and Aholibama bare Jeush, and Jaalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. And Esau took his wives, and his sons, and his daughters, and all the persons of his house, and his cattle, and all his beasts, and all his substance which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. For their riches were more than that they might dwell together, in the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. Thus both Esau and Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau; Reuel, the son of Bashemath, the son of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare Eliphaz, Amalek. These were the sons of Ada, Esau's wife. Before I continue on to verse 13, Amalek, remember, then came hence the Amalekites down the road, which were real thorns in the Israelites' side. And welcome and shalom to Has. Verse 13, and these are the sons of Reuel, Nahath and Zerah, Shammah and Mizah. These were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Aholibama, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bare to Esau Jeush and Jaalam and Korah. These were the dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau: Duke Taman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz, Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Ada. And these are the sons of Reuel, Esau's son: Duke Nahath, Duke Zerah, Duke Shammah, Duke Mizah. These are the dukes that came of Reuel in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And there are the sons of Aholibama, Esau's wife: Duke Jeush, Duke Jaalam, Duke Korah. These were the dukes that came of Aholibama, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these are their dukes. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, who inhabited the land, Lotan, and Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anah, and Dishon, and Ezer, and Dishan. These are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir, in the land of Edom. And the children of Lotan were Hori and Hamam, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. And the children of Shobal were these: Elvan, and Manahath, and Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. And these are the children of Zibeon, both Ajah and Anah. This was that Anah that found the mules in the wilderness, as he fed the asses of Zibeon his father. And the children of Anah were these: Dishon and Aholibama, the daughter of Anah. And these are the children of Dishon, Hemdan, and Eshban, and Ithran, and Karan. The children of Ezer are these, Bilhan, and Zeavan, and Akan. The children of Dishan are these, Uz and Aran. These are the dukes that came of the Horites, Duke Lotan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibian, Duke Ana. Duke Dishon, Duke Ezer, Duke Dishan. These are the dukes that came of Hori among their dukes in the land of Seir. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before there reigned any children over the children of Israel. And Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinabah. And Bela died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra, reigned in his stead. And Jobab died, and Husham in the land of Temani reigned in his stead. And Husham died, and Hadad, the son of Badad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead, and the name of his city was Avith. And Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah reigned in his stead. And Samlah died, and Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. And Saul died, and Baal Hanan, the son of Akbor, reigned in his stead. You see, folks, a lot of these false gods are coming from names like Baal, and you just heard me read a name. Think about it. You go back to, I'll be starting in verse 39. Okay, you go back to, I believe Genesis 10 off the top of my head. Now, I do apologize. I'm missing a lot of teeth in my tongue. It's not that I don't know the pronunciations of these names. I do. As a Jew, I darn well better. Anyway, like chapter 10 of Genesis, verse 2, the sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Medai and Javan and Tubal and Meshech and Tyres. So all I'm saying is, these are very interesting if you look at it the right way. I know reading, especially when I get to First Chronicles, and since I'll be doing it in the Jewish order, it'll be the second to the last book or scroll in the Tanakh. Okay, because I'm not going to do it in the Christian order this time. But that being said, when I get to First Chronicles, try to stick with me and get through it. There's a lot of definitions, and there's a lot, in meanings, deeply philosophically to these names, and a lot of history, frankly. And it all connects. I guarantee you it does. Oh, hey, welcome and shalom to Wilfred. Okay, let's go to verse 38, I believe. Didn't I say that? Yeah. Verse 38 of chapter 36. And Saul died, and Baal Hanan, the son of Akbor, reigned in his stead. And Baal Hanan, the son of Akbor, died, and Hadar reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Pau. And his wife's name was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matra, the daughter of Mezahab. And these are the names of the dukes that came of Esau, according to their families, after their places, by their names: Duke Timnah, Duke Elva, Duke Jetheth, or you can say Jetheth, it doesn't really matter. Duke Eolabama, Duke Elah, Duke Pinon, Duke Kenaz, Duke Taman, Duke Mibzar, Duke Magiel, Duke Iram. These be the dukes of Edom, according to their habitations in the land of their possession. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. All right, that's all 43 verses of chapter 36. Glad we got through it. Just so you know, too, it is good. I believe Apostle Paul, this is nothing to get in an argument over. But at the same time, it is important for history's sake. We don't want to lose our true history. And some people in our nation, the United States, that is, they're trying to get rid of it and change it. Well, you can't change it literally. It's a lie then. But you do it long enough, you tell a lie long enough, people believe it. And not only that, but I think I have a pretty colorful background where I was adopted as an infant. And when my dad, the one who raised me, sold his stocks or whatever, his 40% of that bank in 1983, and he went to work for another man who was a multimillionaire. My dad didn't own any of that bank, but he went right into the perimeter, not the town, but the same perimeter from the area that they had adopted me from. So it's probably a good thing that in a way that I found out who my cousins and all that were. Because, I mean, I just might as well admit it. In high school, I was looking, I was a rebel. That's not hard for me to admit, but I went party hardying in other areas. I did do some partying with some people that I was related to and didn't realize it, but nothing ever happened there. That was a God thing. And it's just good. But it's good to know that stuff. I mean, you can marry a first cousin, you can marry a brother or a sister for all you know. It's been known to happen. Um, by the grace of God, it did not happen to me. But I was walking down the sidewalk one day in this little hick town, and I saw one of my first cousins, and we talked for a while. And I had to tell her I had no clue you were my cousin. You know, and of course she, it was mutual. She didn't know. We never did get anything going before that. Um, anyway, get some coffee in me again. Let's go on to. So it's good to know those things, folks, for a number of valid reasons. Let's go to chapter 37, shall we? Cheeseburger and potato salad with jalapeno earlier for me. Okay, yeah. I don't eat jalapenos, but other than that, it sounds like a pretty good. Hey, cheeseburger, offer one to Bill Gates. I think that's his favorite meal. Huh. Invite him over, Hoss. He didn't come to my place, He turned down my invitation, I guess. Anyway, getting back to seriosity here. Chapter 37. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wife. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. Before I continue to verse 5, please don't make that mistake that Jacob made, playing favorites. I mean, Yaakov here was obviously oblivious to it. I don't think he ever did fully. I don't know, maybe when he was in kind of bedridden this last few years there in Egypt, it's hard to know if he learned. He admitted to the Pharaoh that few and evil were the days of his life. But those brothers were rightly angry. They didn't handle it right, but they were rightly angry. Okay, verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. I want to make this clear. Obviously, it was meant to be, and that's what they ended up doing. I don't know about Jacob, but his brothers ended up doing it. How many decades later? But I don't think he was young and naive. I don't think he was being very intelligent, using much common sense there. He was an intelligent man, I have no doubt, but he wasn't using much of an EQ there to be telling his older brothers that when he knew they were already pretty disgruntled with him at that point. I think it would have been better to control his tongue, maybe. That's just kind of my opinion. All right. Verse 13. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, Here am I. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, where I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit, and we will say, Some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew up and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. And he rent his clothes, and he returned unto his brethren, and said, The child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat, and killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it, and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son, mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. All right, all 36 verses of chapter 38. Definitely mourn if you have a loved one you lost, but to go down and mourn for him continually and not move on with your life, I don't know, people. Again, Jacob had a lot of flaws, I think. That's just me, though. I'm not even reading it yet. Hold on. Yeah, that's a theory I think I've heard that before, Hoss. That's worth discussing one day, I think. Um, anyway, I'm just, a lot of flaws. But God uses anybody. And Jacob was for Elohim. He served him. He was a prophet. He did his will, despite his many mistakes and that. And he also used people that were totally against him. You see that in John, Gospel of John is in chapter 11. One of the Pharisees, I'm brain freezing right now. Better for one man to die than for the whole nation. Is that Ananias? No. Anyway, let's continue on to chapter 38. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Edolamite whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and went in unto her. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah, and he was at Kezib when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, Go into thy brother's wife and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. Then said Judah to Tamar his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at thy father's house, till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, Lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in process of time the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted, and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Edolamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath, for she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet, and thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Edolamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There is no harlot in this place. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet, and bracelets, and staff? And Judah acknowledged them, and said, She hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail, that behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass, when she travailed, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out, and she said, How hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Pharez. And afterward came out his brother, that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerah. All right. All 30 verses of chapter 38. Anyway, I wish that was true. Let's see how long this goes on. If this person gets out of hand, go ahead and do what you need to do. Monitors or wrenches, I'm not worried about it too soon. Yeah, I don't really care. That doesn't bother me. Give me a thumbs up while you're out of it there, Lucero. Help me out. Anyway, chapter 39. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him or bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house and all that he had put into his hands, or into his hand, singular. Anyway. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessings of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things, that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. Before I go on to verse 11. Well, I think he had more restraint than I would have had. I might as well just. I want to sit here and tell you people I think I could refuse it now. Yeah, don't block him yet, Deb. See how it goes. Verse 11, and it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in Hebrew unto us to mock us. And he came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. Okay. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. All right, all 23 verses of chapter 39. All right, let's do the next 23 verses, 23 verses, chapter 40. Okay. And it came to pass after these things, chapter 40, and it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers, and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them inward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, and they continued a season inward. And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream, in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the chief baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his lord's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were three branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto him, This is the interpretation of it. The three branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head, and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when thou wast his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show thee kindness. I pray thee unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing, that they should put me into the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgat him. Okay. All 23 verses of chapter 40 of Genesis. We are now 80% of the way done with Bereshith. I really don't have a lot to go on. I was up all night looking at things. And yes, I did take a break and watch a movie. But I don't know, folks. It's hot out there. You know, you need to stay hydrated. Keep yourselves cool enough. Give me a minute. I'm going to go take a few seconds to check on my dogs outside. I got to get them in for the night after I'm done with this live stream. Just give me a few seconds. You guys doing out here? Anyway, make sure you don't bark at anything, which is fine. I validate them, and Yeah, let me check where it is where I'm at. Because I'm 15 miles from one city or town or whatever one way, and then 20 miles from the other, basically. 75 feels like 78, so it's going down a little bit. But again, you have the gamma rays. That's the one that's 15 miles. The other one is 76, feels like 79. That's the one that's 20 miles. That's still hot enough. Um, Haas, I'm trying to think where you're from. I'm not asking you if you want to put. I don't put your address, obviously, but I'm trying to think where you may be from. Um, I think you're in a hotter state than we are, but there's a lot of stuff going on. It's impossible to keep up with it all the time. Um, yeah, I thought so. I thought he was. I thought you were in Texas, but yeah, that's hotter than where we're at. But I'm see, Deb and I went to Texas for a little bit there in 2021. Well, we drove around a lot actually. We were down in Alabama and all that, back down over to Florida and then over to Texas, and all the hot states. Anyway, not that it's not hot here. I think it is. With all the stuff going on, I've come to a conclusion here. And yes, we're struggling here too, in that. We try to prep and be ready, like Joseph will be doing very soon in our readings. Taken 7 years to save Egypt and other surrounding nations, including his own family line, to keep it going. When the 7 years of famine came, what is it then? What is it, Deb? She just has to holler this stuff. Hold on, let me mute for a second. Okay, now Deb has her tablet on a thing where it's exactly where we're located. 75 feels like 84. It's just about the same as what I was reading, pretty close anyway. But there's so much stuff going on, and I've just concluded, and I've had to self-examine and pray about this, and I just have to really depend on Yah the Father through His Son Yeshua. So I don't. Oh, maybe I should do a lesson on how we can prosper in various ways, even though this isn't our home, even though Hasatan is the God of this world, more or less. Of course, he can't do anything without permission. Keep that in mind. Hasatan cannot cheat. Okay, if he does something and he messes with your life and gives you grief in whatever way, he has permission to do it. Um, but at the same time, there's plenty of verses for those, where if you're being obedient in that and serving him with your heart, mind, soul, and strength, um, where we can prosper. Maybe even, financially to an extent. I'm not promising riches. Trust me, I'm not. We're not rich. Why would I promise that you'll get there? But anyway, you know, I'm coming to the conclusion too that these ridiculous televangelists like Paula Kane White or whatever her name is, who leads the blind, Mr. Donald John Trump, Kenneth Copeland, another close one, or at least he was a close one to Donald Trump, and so on. I mean, there's so many of them. A lot of you know who all they are. Benny Hinn, Mike Murdoch, whatever. I don't. It's like they're designed. They make it designed to keep us poor. What, reap a harvest and sow a blessing is Mike Murdoch's infamous words, I believe. He's got it down pat. I think the richest one of them all for those types of people, televangelists, I believe, is Kenneth Copeland, if I'm right. But he is pretty wealthy too. I mean, they all are, but it just anyway. Keep us poor, and if we don't reap the harvest, if we don't sow the blessing, there's something wrong with us. But in this world, again, we have a lot of thorns. It's not. We have a lot of grief. I mean, think about it. But I think people should seek what Elohim wants for them. I mean, but this, to go to 70 and 80 years old, for example, I'm going to Psalms here. Psalm chapter 90, verse 10, which is from Moshe himself. Chapter 90, verse 10, the days of our years are 3 years. The days of our years are 60 years and 10, which obviously that's 70. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, which is 80, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. I mean, so we're not promised, a happy, joyful life in the, in a secular or earthly sense. Hopefully, we have joy and happiness in our human spirits, letting the Holy Spirit guide us and being in God's will. And yes, we can get some happiness here too. And when the Lord decides that, trust me when I tell you, Deb and I we were put through a lot of grief there for a few years. It was bad. Sometimes I wonder about it. You get into Ecclesiastes with King Solomon. And what's the point of all this? And you think about it, it's a broken record. I mean, I look at my biological dad, and he made many mistakes. Trust me. We were adopted out for a number of reasons. I mean, him and mom weren't even together, if I can even really rightly call them that. They committed the act, we'll put it that way. And then he didn't die a happy man. I didn't even know he had died until my biological sisters told me about it. No, I correct that. My biological grandmother told me about it. And then I got a hold of, talked to each of my sisters because they were the ones who were there. He never, and I look at my dad, though, that raised me, the bank owner, and yeah, he was an honorable, respectable man, paid his bills, put our oldest sibling, my older brother, through tech college. He put my younger sister, he supported her and her child when she had a mishap there in high school. I was already out by then. I didn't even know it had happened until I found out that night when I went and visited. I mean, so he's supporting a grandchild for quite a while there. He had a lot of grief from us kids, not my older brother. He was kind of a parent's wet dream. He never really did much wrong. Yeah, he made some mistakes and he got grounded a couple times, but he was the best kid you could ever have for human standards. And so anyway, but my sister was hell. I was hell. And I think they had some good times, though. I mean, especially after we were gone. Not that we didn't have good times as kids, we did, but really, I mean, my parents' lives were labor. My biological mother was labor and sorrow. She died at younger than the age that I'm at now. She's 54. She died of cancer that she more or less did to herself. Not that she could help it any either. She had some mental health issues going on. No, my mother who raised me, she died at 84 years old. She could have made it longer. I'm convinced of that, even though I can't prove it. She had 4 of those ridiculous. I tried to tell her not to do. I mean, I told her, "Why are you doing that?" And I explained it to her because I used to be in the medical field, but you're not going to listen to your kid who acted disrespectful and just your kid, period. That's in the Bible. I mean, Yeshua's hometown, they got offended with him because they saw him grow up. That's just kind of how people are. But she still made it, and she died on a Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time there up in Minnesota on January 30th, I believe, of 2024. Am I right? Yeah, hold on. Make sure I remembered that correctly. Right before my birthday. No, January 31st, because it was on a Wednesday. I talked to her on the phone, and she had lost her power of speech. Tell her that I loved her and hoped she was comfortable, you know. I talked to her a couple days before that, just for a couple minutes. I didn't want to wear her out. She was in her hospital bed or nursing home bed, and January 31st of 2024 on a Wednesday. Anyway, it was like the day before she died. I talked to her, and like I said, she couldn't talk back then. Like she could a little bit, a couple days before that when my niece was keeping an eye on her. I couldn't be up there for her. Get out of there. But she had a lot of labor and sorrows her whole life. She grew up as a farm girl, worked her butt off. I guess, my mother was the farm boy that Grandpa never had, because her older sister, my auntie, was always, I'm sure my auntie did throw a hay bale there and she manually milked a cow there like they did way back then. But for the most part, she was a sickly little girl. And when she was well enough, she was usually helping Grandma in the kitchen to get meals ready for Mom and Grandpa, as well as themselves. And she never wanted to go back to farm life. She hated it. She married a bank owner. So, and then I guess she was really mad because when she was out on her own, she was being a bank teller. That's how her and Dad met. They met at a seminar or something that they met at because they were both at different banks. But during some time in between, Grandpa knew she couldn't get it. He knew he couldn't get his daughter back there. He had to go somewhere for 3 weeks, so he offered her back then $300 to come in and milk the cows a couple times a day, which she did. And then she got mad because it was a month later after that he bought the first milking machine. That kind of irritated her. But my mother, she was an unhappy, angry person, very aggressive. And I'll just leave it at that. You just didn't want to get on her bad side when we were little kids, which I did many times. And not good. But, none of these people have had really good lives. I think Haas told you he answered your request, Deb. Look at the chat up there. But that being said, folks, I haven't had that great of a life. It's been a lot of labor and sorrow for me. I've had some good times. Yeah, successful. I've been, really at ease, But I can tell you right now, a lot of my life has been very contentious. No matter what area of life I've been in, the workforce, being having standards put on me, making me a supervisor, whether I wanted it or not, being responsible for others, being in relationships, before I met Deb. In the martial art realm, politics are big in the martial art realm. It is bad, bad. I've had fallouts with other instructors. I lost my fighting career because I had a fallout with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. And if anybody was blatant, it's blatant or more so than Jacob was, playing favorite wives, playing favorite son. I mean, that BJJ instructor was worse. And he was totally oblivious to just. He finally, after he kicked me out, it was 3 years later, everybody left him and started their own dojo. But I wasn't a part of it. So, I just. And then having to go from state to state to state and make a new start how many times in my life? I mean, that gets old quick. And I'm not getting any younger. I don't want to have to keep doing this. We were doing great in Florida until we got hijacked. It was a good life I thought we had. And then when that county code enforcer showed up, and now we're here. And we're starting to get more successful here, but we've had to relearn a whole new environment, and it's been rough. I don't think he's typed in since you deleted his stuff, Deb. I'm looking. I don't let that stuff bother me so much. Lucifer Lucero, yeah. It could be somebody that knows us too. Keep that in mind. One of my past YouTube acquaintances, who knows? But anyway, and it's, things are tough out there. It's not a fun life out there. I'm just, can I be happy and joyful? Yeah, and I think I am at times, but I do struggle. I sit back about what we're going through even now, and it's like, oh man, why do I keep doing this? But I do. I keep enduring. Deborah Hebrew Faith keeps enduring. And I have some really tough moments I just want to walk away from it all. Your timeout deal did delete his comment, Deb. It's not a big deal. Just don't worry, it's fine. If he or she wants to type in again, they can. They're probably not even watching for all I know. If he or she is fine. But all the grief, even before we got hijacked in Florida, we had people chasing our family, trying to get a hold of Deb's ex, who at that time was an illegal alien, potentially endangering our kid, her kids anyway. And you want to talk about grievous and me wanting to drop everything I'm doing and go and deal with those people. Oh boy, I didn't have to. Things got worked out, and I don't think he'll ever be out of old Mexico again, even if they reopen the borders. He couldn't get through there again. That last time with the Biden-Harris administration, he had an accident, got messed up, had to go through recovery in old Mexico. And two, you have to pay a lot of money and have the coyotes and the cartel and all that involved. And I just think his days are over. But life is hard. It's rough. Let's be honest. If you find an 80, 90, or even, 100-year-old person and they're still lucid, unlike our previous president, they can talk to you. Just give them time. Let them go slow. And they talk about their lives. I mean, I used to work in geriatrics. I don't know one person I ran into. Yeah. Sure, they had their good times too and had some fun, but they had a lot of work, a lot of hardships, a lot of travesties. I mean, this happy life and everything being happy, joyous, and free all the time, I've never seen it. I've never experienced it myself. I don't know anybody else that has. So, but read your scriptures, folks. Put your trust in Yah. Ask him what he wants you to do. Okay? And he'll guide you the right way. Whatever his will is for you. All right. I am going to head out of here. I need to get the dogs in for the night. I need to get ready for bed and try to not stay up all night. What time is it? Oh, yeah, 10:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm glad those of you who made it, thanks for making it in and thumbing me up and whatever. And Elohim willing, we will be here tomorrow to read chapters 41 through 45. All right, peace, shalom. The Levite man is out of here.